Hey, come see us in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey at the Icarus Festival, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So this guy, Douglas McGregor, he's a U.S. Army colonel, retired. He wrote a book about the military. Everybody quotes it. He's always in high demand for his commentary. He's a military and TV analyst. And so he tweeted this out. MK Ultra sex trafficking survivor Dr. Juliet Engel, who was sold to a CIA handler by her father at the age of 6, tells her story. In the early 1950s, Secretary of State John Foster Dulles officially sanctioned an illegal program of mind control and drug experimentation to be conducted on unwitting American citizens. So this is your government did this. If you can think it, your government did it. So they did this.
Well, hold on, Jimmy. Russia, you have to understand, the Soviet Union, and also in Korea, if you recall, I didn't know this part of the story. So a bunch of U.S. soldiers had been captured. Okay, this is what started the brainwashing craze, mind control fear.
Oh, right,
panic.
The Manchurian Candidate thing.
So what happened was at Korea, we were fighting China and Korea, and some captured U.S. soldiers defected and said, we don't want to come back. Now, I didn't remember this part of the story. The United States has been using bio-warfare on them. So I'd heard the one part, and so, of course, we know America would never do that. So they were clearly brainwashed. And America's like, oh, my God, they've mastered mind control, clearly.
Oh, really?
Because it's impossible in the 50s, right after we got all the Nazis that make that kind of stuff, that we would then turn it on the commies. So that's when they got the excuse to do this. But then, we've discovered it didn't work, and they stopped doing it.
So
these people were the first iPhones.
So they're still doing it. So this is Douglas McGregor tweeting this out. He said, Secretary of State John Foster Dulles sanctioned this to happen. The program, MK Ultra, maybe you heard of it, was based on the work of Nazi scientists brought to the United States from Germany, as Kurt just said, under the auspices of Project Paperclip following the Nuremberg trials.
And by the way, Ben-Gurion didn't like it from Israel, but he was told by Rockefeller, you can either have blood or you can have a country. So we got all these war criminals and did a show, the fat ones.
Yeah.
We kept all the good ones.
Yes.
And probably Israel's not our friends because of that, how we saved a bunch of evil Nazis. And they
the Zionists worked with the Nazis, though. That's the thing. But let me get back to this. The program was headed by Sidney Gottlieb.
Yeah, that guy.
And initiated on the order of the CIA director Allen Dulles on April 13th, 1953. In 1975, the Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with respect to intelligence activities, foreign and military intelligence, was chaired by Senator Frank Church. Maybe you heard of the Church Committee. Initial investigations led to revelations that at least 80 American universities, colleges, hospitals, plus 185 private contractors had engaged in 149 separate CIA-funded sub-projects involving mind control experimentation, including forced administration of mind-altering drugs, particularly LSD, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, sexual abuse, and torture.
Heavy emphasis on those last two.
Unfortunately for the investigation, the CIA director, Richard Helms, ordered all MK Ultra documents destroyed prior to their being subpoenaed by the Church Committee and the Gerald Ford Commission to investigate CIA activities within the United States, just like they destroyed all the videotapes of the torture program that George Bush ordered. They destroyed all of them. Nobody got in trouble for that. Nobody got in trouble for this.
Oh, by the way, the torture wasn't just waterboarding.
It was way worse. In 1977, a small cache of 20,000 documents was discovered, and Senate hearings resumed. So they didn't get all of them. Subsequent testimonies from victims, researchers, and officials revealed that unsupervised experiments were carried out on an unprecedented scale, involving thousands of victims in the United States and Canada, including children.
Especially children.
Each child victim of government-sanctioned human trafficking has a story. So surviving sex magic. This lady is her story. It begins in Seattle in 1955. Let's listen to a little of this.
Dr. Juliet Engel. I have the honor of leading the new Our Country, Our Children Action Response Team called Protect Our Children. Our members are patriotic Americans from all walks of life who recognize that our children are at risk like never before. Child trafficking and abuse are endemic in our country. Government, from local to federal, is often complicit, and nothing will change for the better until we become the lawful agents of change and do it ourselves. Institutionalized child trafficking is not new in our country. I was trafficked in 1955 at the age of 6 when my father sold me to a CIA handler in the MK Ultra program Sex Magic. I grew up in a cult of mind control, satanic ritual abuse, sexual abuse, and soul-stealing black masses, conducted often in tunnels under Disneyland. I escaped at the age of 17 to begin a new life by enrolling in university, then medical school. As a doctor, I forgot my past and had no memory of childhood. Years later, in the 1990s, when I was working on maternal and infant healthcare reform in Russia, I discovered that 1/3 of babies born in the former Soviet Union were being abandoned at birth and sent to orphanages. From there, many were trafficked and taken to other countries for sex and organ trafficking. I organized a nationwide questionnaire, the first in the former Soviet Union, and uncovered the extent of kidnappings, abductions, and trafficking from each region. I also discovered that Germany, the United States, and Israel were the 3 major receiving countries of trafficked women and children. In 2001, I took my findings with over 500,000 pieces of data collected from 15 former republics of the USSR to the United Nations, to the US State Department, and to Congress. They chose to ignore my clear evidence of trafficking rings operating between Russia and the United States. In the meantime, over my objections, the State Department issued their annual Trafficking in Persons report, showing that the U.S. had no trafficking problem. I continued my work in Russia by building an underground railroad for the rescue, return, and repatriation of trafficking victims. Within 10 years, we facilitated the rescues of over 70,000 people. In 2010, I was warned out of Moscow by Russian military intelligence who feared for my safety. When I returned home to the United States, I was shocked at how the well-being of our children had deteriorated to third world status. Schools are unsafe. Young students are being sexualized and indoctrinated with radical communist ideologies. Birth rates are down, abortion rates are rising, transgenderism and pedophilia are forced on students in kindergarten. I can no longer ignore the painful links to my own past. As a trafficked child in the 1950s, I was indoctrinated into the green agenda, depopulation, Satanism, ritual abuse, and futuristic plans for the death of the American soul. The degeneracy that was birthed underground in the MK Ultra programs of the 50s and 60s is now mainstream. Mind control is rampant and comprises a head-on assault to the future of America and the human race. Dark forces have infiltrated our nation and attacked our children. This is war, patriots, a war that we must win. Our children require a safe, loving environment. They deserve loving homes and the care of their parents. They must build healthy bodies, strong, independent minds, and a moral compass that will carry our nation into the future as stewards of the beautiful world that God gave us. Our country, our choice has formed this new action response team, Protect Our Children. These dedicated patriots are gathering actionable data on child abuse, abduction, and trafficking in America. Together, we will bring down the wall of protection that currently shields the monsters preying on our children. The age of the protected pedophile and ritual abuse of children is over. Please visit our new website, ourcountryourchildren.com, and learn more about our cause and more about my personal story. Then join us in the defense of our future. Thank you.
The only thing I disagree with is dark forces infiltrate our company. Our country was the dark force.
We are the dark force.
That's the only thing I disagree. Yeah. If you're uncomfortable, because Russ had that thing about that doctor that died from the satanic panic. Remember the panic?
Yeah.
It lasted from 1972 to 2000. So longer than the Afghanistan war. We were panicking. Okay? So that's a big bullshit thing to muddy the water. You got to think of it in corporate terms. It's just the way Big Pharma takes like coca leaves or opium and they distill the pharmacological ingredients to make heroin, right? Or cocaine. They did that with folk remedies like Satanism. Don't worry, don't get hung up on the Satan part. That's just super social Darwinism on steroids. You don't have to believe in any of that shit. The government, you don't have to believe in it. They just want to know, how do you control people? So if you don't like religion, you don't like her talking that way, okay? You got to admit religion's a good way to mind control people, right? And if I were the government, I sure would study that to see how I could mind control people, right? Store information in them, make sure they never talk. And so now, in case you're wondering why we live in clown world, there's tons of these stories, okay? It's because those are the first iPhones. They trauma program people with all the features of an iPhone, jerking off, storing info, texting a bomb to someone, like everything you could do, they did to people. And so now, you notice how people can't remember shit and they're all crazy? We're in the mass production phase, and they did it. They did it already. They already did it. That, in case you're wondering why everybody's so fucking crazy, because they did it. So that's why nobody remembers shit. Israel comes up, nobody remembers Bibi paid Hamas. Nobody remembers the last 3 wars we lost. Nobody remembers anything. Oh, that natural immunity is real. Do you notice the crazy way?
Wasn't that crazy how they made doctors forget about natural immunity? They made virologists and biologists forget about natural immunity to a virus, and they all just went along with it. And by the way, not only that, everybody forgot that ivermectin won the Nobel Prize for Human Medicine in 2015. Yeah. Everybody forgot that it was on the WHO list of essential medicines.
In the first place, to be fair.
Nobody looked into any of that stuff.
Look, the first and most powerful magic there is lying.
That's right.
That's how we got our money. So once you have a good base of lies, you just got to make sure you don't fall off the cliff. Nobody looks down and makes you fall off the cliff. You can build on those lies. So think of every evil thing you ever heard of, okay? There's more slaves now than ever. There's more, everybody, that's an indisputable fact. Even if people are like, oh, QAnon. It's a fact there are more slaves now than ever in history. Why? Because there's more people than ever. You think you're not going to traffic them? Remember Al Capone when they did prohibition on alcohol, right? And then the ice cream parlor, dude, at night you'd show up into alcohol pop up. Well, they did the same thing with slavery. They did the same goddamn thing. And I remember hearing this in the 90s from Kathy O'Brien, because she said she was a CIA mind slave and was owned by Senator Robert Byrd. Okay? Remember the Ku Klux Klan senator? And at the time, this makes a lot of people like, that's preposterous. You think Robert Byrd would own slaves? But he did, I believe it 100%.
Well, I get contacted by people. Well, first of all, I would never have believed that unless Colonel McGregor tweeted that out, and I'm like, whoa. And then plus I know about MK Ultra is a real thing.
Well, we all knew that was real. That's been established for a while.
But I didn't know it was that bad.
Okay, Whitey Bulger, Charles Manson, the Unabomber. There's like a bunch of other people that are all directly from MK Ultra. That Sidney Gottlieb, that piece of shit.
Yeah.
He was the therapist to all the greats. Okay? So that's a little odd, isn't it? We think it's a coincidence. The Unabomber, Manson, and Whitey Bulger, who hated drugs. His only drug was killing people because he was mad how they experimented on with LSD in Alcatraz. So that was never been questioned that's a thing. Now, here's a fun fact you might not know. You know this thing of clearing the swamp that Trump promised to do?
Yeah.
That's been done before after the church committee. You know who did it? Jimmy Carter. He got 30% of them fired from their jobs because everybody was sick of this shit. And then what happened in Jimmy Carter? They got 6 ways to Sunday.
They got rid of him.
Yeah. And then Ronald Reagan, industry plant Ronald Reagan comes in. And so remember all the movies where anti-war and Vietnam was sucked?
Yeah. And
it was bad and, you know, and Ronald Reagan, it was morning in America again.
That's right.
And slowly he built up the intelligence. I mean, he didn't even do the evils that the guys that came after him did. But now we're back to even worse than it was in the 50s levels of intelligence communities out of control. And if people don't believe that, it's because you're compartmentalizing as if you work for an intelligence agency.
Well, they have people like Stephen Colbert tell Tulsi Gabbard that I think America is a force for good in the world. You remember when he said that? When she was telling the truth about Syria, he's like, well, I think America is a force for good in the world. What in the...
Adam from Cincinnati said to me on the phone?
Only a Sunday school teacher could say something that's
stupid.
How
MK Ultra... Dude, that phrase, I've heard that enough where I'm like, oh, that's like a catchphrase. Like,
who told you? Who was
Adam from Cincinnati? Remember, we went on their show and they talked about Ukraine, and we were talking. He goes, "Well, I think America's a force for good in the world."
Those guys are fucking poor.
But who cares? The point is, I think America's a force for good in the world. That is hypnosis programming. We played the Sinclair Group videos. Now that was Republicans, and I saw a special on another like a liberal shitlib channel. They were working with Trump. A child's birthday is the most important in the Sinclair Group. I guess that's that old... I don't know who runs them. They're all doing it. You say a thing 3 times. The reason they look into this stupid magic... And I'm not into magic, okay? But let me explain to you what it is. It's controlling your perception. So think of it as PR or advertising or marketing. Oh, also our money. Also most of the things. Okay? So everybody's got to get over this weird well, I'm an atheist now. But dude, you could be an atheist. They are, a lot of them. They just want the effective mind control. And you're going to tell me that shit doesn't work? Because I'm looking around. We just got done talking to a lady that had to form an underground railroad for people that got injured by
an experimental medical treatment.
It should dawn on everybody this is because nobody acts like this. Okay? No, we're not that stupid. People did this on purpose to all the population, and you're watching people snap out of it. And the thing that should scare you is not how magical it is. That's like Pulp Fiction stuff. It's how mundane. Okay, here, we just said David Copperfield, how he made the Statue of Liberty disappear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and when a guy told me, because I'm like, how do you do it? Because he couldn't have just done trick photography because they said
there's no trick photography.
Okay, so just anybody watching has a hard time believing this. Think of that trick, how they pulled it off, purely based on they wouldn't do that. How many times you got to see they would do that before you get it? They would do that, and they did do that, and they're doing it now. And I understand if you're a little cow that wants to believe in it, but grow the fuck up. Just be honest. Look at the thing in front of you.
Hey, if you're planning on taking a trip to Las Vegas, we'll be there July 28th, just so you know. So if you're going to go there this summer, July 28th is when we'll be there telling jokes. July 28th at Wise Guys. They have a new Wise Guys. There's the one in the Arts District. That's we played last time. Great room. And there's an even bigger room now, a 350-seat room in a different part of Las Vegas. I forget. Is it in Henderson? I'm not sure. But anyway, so if you're planning on making your plans to go to Vegas this summer, go down July 28th, and we'll see you there.
Hey, how come RFK Jr., one of the smartest people I've ever heard speak in politics in my life, turns as stupid as Kid Rock when it comes to Israel? How come?
So I'm convinced that when he was in that tent with Roger Ailes
in a kibbutz as a young man. I'm sorry, he's an Irish Catholic, right?
Yes.
And he's on a birthright trip to Israel.
I know.
As a man in a tent with Roger Ailes, the guy they made the Me Too movie about.
And people forget. You talk about forgetting, Kurt. People forgot during COVID that there was a movie called The Dallas Buyers Club starring Matthew McConaughey. I think he won the Academy Award for it.
Remember to forget.
People forgot that the bad guy in that movie, the person keeping life-saving treatments and drugs from AIDS patients, was Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was the bad guy in the Dallas. If you ever watch that movie, The Dallas Buyers Club, Dr. Fauci's the bad guy. And people forgot that, including Matthew McConaughey, who wouldn't say a fucking thing during COVID about it.
Well, at that time when it came out, I remember reading a debunking of that movie about how it was absurd and how people...
Oh, really?
It sounded just like what... But this is back when it came out, so I didn't think anything of it.
Oh, okay.
And it said they had them seeking ivermectin, like that kind of ivermectin.
Yeah.
A lot of people pursued dangerous treatments because of that.
That's not true.
And I went, oh, okay. And even I knew that that's like... Because how many... Oh, do you know why marijuana... Do you know if you really look into it...
You mean more dangerous than AIDS?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. And if you sit and think for 2 seconds, you're like, what in the hell? Why did I ever think that they weren't capable? How many times you got to get screwed over before you notice there's a problem? And like, I understand it's hard if you don't like Bible beating hillbillies, and you don't have to believe in listen to the thing. Just listen to the thing and notice it. You know, because the government don't care about Satan. They don't look at it like that. What they care about is we care about what works.
That's right.
Okay, so what is it that has cults next? L. Ron Hubbard's silly cult. You don't think they work with the CIA from the beginning? They're a great place to put actors. A little cutout of and then you can program them. I'll bet that guy David Miscavige is going to get whacked too. I'll bet you somebody else is gunning for his job, because that whole L. Ron Hubbard thing, that guy, he made like a dumb model, like a poor man's model of the thing that a bunch of these wealthy people are into. Okay, they're all into like Zeus. They call it the old religion. In case you're wondering, the religion, their cult, is called the old religion. That's the Nexium of the elite. It's called the old religion. And what is it? It's all you already know what it is. It's all stuff you've seen strewn about through fiction and Harry Potter crap. Okay? But just like any other stupid religion, they think they go way back. And that's why we have Greek or Roman god stuff everywhere. Because it's like the 48 laws of power. You ever hear that?
Yeah,
That's what all those Greek myths are about. They're all about mortals getting the better of the gods and almost surpassing them. The Bible's got just a little of that. It's slapped down immediately. But in those ancient Greek myths, it looks like a Real Housewives almost. And it's basically a way to encode information. The 48 laws of power. If you read that, you could, if you want to tell it to dumber people, you tell it as Zeus and Apollo and Athena stories, right? But it's the same lessons about seducing a man to take his place. It's all the same things, and they're the lessons of the rich elite. If you read those kind of myths, it's all weird, incest and taking some of the underworld. That's their old religion. I'm not saying it's specific to those gods. The chump level is like the Gap is Satan. The Banana Republic is Molech. Like there's a cheap brand, and then there's a luxury brand, and then there's a brand above that. You already know there is. You can look at all the. Why do you think?
Well, look at the Bohemian Grove with their. I mean, that's.
Why does that exist?
Why does that exist?
Look, Freemasons. I'm not saying they drink blood or something. Okay, I've seen the Great History Channel debunkings of your fears. The founding fathers were Freemasons. Okay, so they're not worshiping devil, whatever. But why are they doing what they're doing at all? Why do you have I get it. It's not anything with the devil. Why are you doing this? Why do you have this weird shit on and a sword and George W. Bush frat hazing?
How about that picture of Klaus Schwab? You've seen that picture when he came out.
That's from a college. It was like a futuristic gown. I looked that one up.
Oh, is that why he had to wear that?
He was speaking at something. I mean, I feel like that's a weird outfit even for that, but you got to remember it's Germany.
Okay. All right, we got to go. But that's wild. I would never have believed.
I can't believe that after I've been on this binge of this stuff, that this even came up as a story. Because that guy in Slovakia, a 71-year-old man, for no reason. For no reason. And so I'm reading that after, Jimmy, a week of like talking to people about this a lot. Because I was trying to look at alien abduction stories. I just want to hear something I haven't heard before. I don't believe. So they got to him. So they got to that 71-year-old guy who probably had him the whole time. It could turn him on like the Manchurian Candidate. That's right. Just like the They didn't just make that up. So they got a 71-year-old guy to go shoot the prime minister. They got slaves into their 80s in case they need them, and 100% I believe that. And they have them all over the world, all the Five Eyes countries. So I want everybody to remember on Sunday we're doing a live stream this Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's a live stream. Make sure you tune in. Kurt will be there. Sam Tripoli, Steph, Jeff Dye will also be there. And who did I miss? Did I leave anybody else?
You said Sam Tripoli.
I got it.
We're good.
So we're going to have a great panel. It's going to be a great show. It'll be live streamed on Rumble. Make sure you watch it. And we'll see you Sunday. Kurt, you got any stand-up dates coming up? Yeah, go on kurtmestercomedy.com because I got a bunch coming up and I don't remember them. But I'm at the San Diego. Oh, I think my birthday, the 24th, 23rd or something. When's your birthday? May 24th. I think it's really. Yeah, the kurtmestercomedy.com. You can get the date, but I think I'm there my birthday weekend. Were you at Mic Drop?
No, American Comedy
Oh,
Club.
American Comedy Club in San Diego. Okay.
I have a great time there every time. The crowd's awesome every time. So come out there. And then I'm at a bunch of Rick Bronson clubs the rest of the.
Oh, yeah. I was
next
just
few
at Rick
days.
Bronson's club in Edmonton, Great club.
I know, isn't it?
It is a
It
great
feels
club.
It's like
It was
feels
rocking.
like
Guys on
Superman
fire.
under a yellow sun.
It was great.
Yeah.
It's inside that huge mall. It's a great club though. And it was, you know what I liked about it was that the waitstaff thanked us. They were like, "Oh, I wish you were here all weekend." Our crowd, they go, "Your crowd is so happy." They were happy and big tippers. And so it
they're great.
made me look good. So anyway, here we're doing stand-up in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Las Vegas, Davenport, Iowa, Chicago, Grand Rapids. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. And make sure you go to jimmydore.com and don't go to a second reseller. Not good.